everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. So, Skele Vader clued me in on this, and if you haven't seen any of his stuff, you should check him out. I'll put a link to his channel down below. I'll also put a link to his video for this down below as well. But he's the one that clued me in on this, that Target has the Dungeon Master Venger 2-pack at 70% off for $15 now. I just went to my Target over the weekend. There were 2 of these left. I picked one up. I saved one for the next collector. But there was no way I was going to spend $50 on this, especially when you consider one is a full-sized figure and the other one is DM. But for $15, yeah, I'll pick this up. Now, what we have here is our Hasbro windowless packaging, and truthfully, I'm one of the ones that doesn't care window or non-window. Like, it really doesn't affect me because most of my shopping is done online anyway. Oh, and that's another thing. This 70% off, as far as I can tell, is in-store only, not online. So if you want to get it for $15, go check your local Targets. You can't get it for this price online. We have some nice graphics up front. We have that classic, that iconic dragon maw from the cartoon. We have some decent animated imagery over here of DM and Venger. We have a look at the figures inside the box, DM and Venger, along with the dice that we get. Up top, we have Dungeons and Dragons. Around back, we have more promotional images of the 2 of them. We see the backdrop that we get, and we have a cross-sell with the other figures that came out with this line of Hank, Diana, and Bobby. On this side, focus. On this side, we have a decent shot of Venger and DM. And on this side, nothing but red and the Dungeons and Dragons logo up top. So, without further ado, let's just crack this open and let's take a look at Hasbro Dungeons and Dragons DM and Venger. Okay, so here they are, DM and Venger out of the box, and putting the tape measure to them, we can see that DM is roughly 3 inches tall, while Venger is approximately 7.5 inches at the top of his head, 8 inches to the top of his horn. And this is why I couldn't bring myself to pay full price for a 2-pack. Like, we got a decent-sized figure in Venger, but this is Dungeon Master, and they're charging us full price. This must be how Star Wars Black Series collectors feel when they have to pay full price for a 2-pack with, like, Yoda or Grogu. So we're going to start with Dungeon Master because, truthfully, there's not a lot going on here. I mean, he has a decent sculpt. It's very soft. It looks very animated. I like the hair. I like his dome going on. He has this nice, quirky little smile on his face that he often had in the show. But other than that, the robes are very soft and plain. The under tunic is very soft and plain. It's all one piece. It doesn't really peel off or anything. And as far as articulation goes, his head kind of moves side to side. There's no tilt. There's no up and down. His arms will come up past 90, and they'll spin all the way around. Wrists will pivot. Wrists rock or hinge in and out. And that's it. That's the extent of his articulation. You're not going to get much out of him, even with this pointing hand right here. Like, he can point, but he kind of can't. There we go. It's kind of hard to get him to look in the direction that he's pointing. He also has a bit of a gripping hand right here, but nothing to hold. So that's about it. That's the pose you're going to get out of him. There's not much going on here. And honestly, if I would have spent the $50 for the full price, I think I would have been upset. But at $15, I'm okay for this being a pack-in with my Venger. Now, let's be honest. This is why we bought the set. Venger, my man, my hero, my champion. The ultimate big bad of the cartoon. The one that wanted the weapons. Turned out he was Dungeon Master's son. Spoiler alert for something that's like 40 years old. And if the unaired script for the final episode of Dungeons and Dragons was any indication, they had some really interesting plans for Venger. This is a fairly decent likeness of him. It's not the best. It's not as great as it could have been. It's okay. It's good. I really hate this side eye going on here. Like, I really don't like it when McFarlane does it, but this, he's basically just looking all the way off to the side. Like, That's some serious side eye going on right there, and I would have really preferred if he was looking straight ahead. The skin color, I think, is very good. The skin tone is very good, really matches him from the cartoon. The reds and the blacks, the different shading for reds. I think this all looks decent for the color palette, and even bring it up close, you even get those little fangs, those overbite fangs of his, and the almost non-existent nose he has going on, and evil eyebrows. And of course, his one curved horn. Skele Vader said it. See it in his video, and I didn't even think about it until he mentioned it, that this does look like Evil from Time Bandits. It really does. I didn't put that together until he said something. The skirting down here I thought was dirty at first, but they shaded it that color, so it's not just like a monotone color. It has some depth to it. It has some I don't know, some detail, some wash to it. In some light, it looks dirty. In other lights, it works. The bracers are pretty decent. His hands, I wish they would have given him black fingernails. I can't remember if he had the black fingernails in the cartoon, but I really think he could have gone for some black fingernails here. Now, looking at the articulation, he obviously has more than Dungeon Master, but let's see how much more. That, like, his head can turn side to side despite this very molded head sculpt going on right here. But there's no up, there's insignificant amount of down, and there's no tilt from side to side. His arms can come forward, and his arms can go back. They won't do a full spin because these shoulder pieces are a very heavy plastic. They bend a little bit, but they look bad if you put his hands up too far, and two, they do tend to weigh the hands down, and they'll bend out of shape. They are slit up the sides, so he can bring his arms up. He can get them to 90. Looking underneath, there's no butterfly hinge right there. He has single jointed elbows that will come up just under 90. Hinge and swivel elbow. Wrists swivel, wrists hinge in and out. Get his arms up out of the way. He does have a cut right here at the waist that he can crunch forward a little bit. He can crunch back. He can do a full turn. And he gets a little bit of rock side to side. Now, this whole thing right in here, in addition to just looking very bland and featureless, it also always feels like it looks like it's coming apart just because of the separation between the chest piece and these shoulder pieces right here, that I'm constantly trying to like push them in, but they're not falling out. They're not coming loose. That's just how they connect. That they come in tight on the back, but they have this gapping up front. Now the skirt that we took a look at before, the skirting, it is a heavy, fairly stiff piece of rubber. It is slit up the side. However, it's not slit high enough to get any real movement out of his legs. You can bring them up to right about there. If you cut it higher, which I don't know if I'm going to, but if you cut it higher, you'd be able to get more movement out of the leg. Lifting this up, you can see that he does have a thigh cut. He has double jointed knees that will go to just past 90 right there. There is no boot cut, but the ankles will rock way back. The ankles will rock forward a little bit. And you have a forward-facing pin for some rocker. Out of the box, Venger comes with a clenched fist and his evil villain grasping hand. He comes with two additional hands that are his open energy projection hands for whenever he's trying to blast the children. We also get Venger's bat wings right here, and the sculpt is fairly decent, and I like the black with the red trim around it. That's very true to the cartoon. But you can see that my paint apps are a little sloppy, that we missed a spot there. It got sloppy up in here. We missed a spot there. Oh, just noticed it's very thin right in here. Oh man, and at the tips. I might have to get a brush and some red paint and go over and just touch that up a little. But this peg fits right here into the peg on his back, and once we pop that in, There we go. Venger's looking good. Venger's looking ready for some action. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That looks cool. So DM doesn't come with any accessories, but what good is a Dungeon Master without his dice? We get an oversized 20, which I really like the font for the numbers on here. That's very like D&D style font. And where's it at? The 20 is the D&D logo, and then we have percentile dice. And something else that we get with this 2-pack that's pretty cool is this backdrop. And as you can see, this is the end shot of the cartoon that just scrolled by as the credits were rolling. So we have, you know, the 6 of them on the roller coaster cart going into the dragon's mouth. That's really cool. I really like this. I still don't think this is what made it worth $50. But this is cool, especially if you collect all of the figures, like the children. I'm not going to do that, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with this backdrop. Honestly, I'll probably just fold it up and keep it somewhere so that it doesn't get dirty, doesn't get wrinkled, doesn't fade. It is cool that it was included, but it's probably not something I'm going to be using on a regular basis. And now for size comparison, here they are beside Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Snake Eyes and Hasbro Dungeons & Dragons Driz Duerdin. Here they are beside McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Arkham City Penguin and Disney Mirrorverse Maleficent. There's a match made right there. Here they are beside McFarlane Toys The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt, Geralt of Rivia, and Eridan Brioc Glass. Here they are beside NECA Toys, Flash Gordon, and Ming the Merciless. Here they are beside Mattel Masterverse 40th Anniversary He-Man and Masters of the Universe movie Skeletor. And finally, here they are beside the real reason that I wanted this set. Here they are beside NECA Toys, Dungeons & Dragons, Warduke, and Grimsword. And look at how Venger sizes up with these guys. So I know I keep harping on this, and I know I've said this a few times over the course of this video, but if I would have paid $50 for this, I would have been pretty upset. $15 I can handle, because really, all you're getting is one figure with a sidekick pack in, to be completely honest. And the one figure Venger that you get isn't really that good. Like, I've heard people say that it's because these are figures of something from the 80s. They wanted to make the figures like they would have been made in the 80s. That's fine. If you want to do that, that's great. Good for you. Go ahead. But don't put a $25 price tag on it. Don't put a premium price tag on it and make it seem like this is as good as something that we get for Classified, for Star Wars, for Marvel Legends, because it's just not. Or even from the Golden Archive collection, because it's just not. It really isn't. Venger's paint apps were sloppy. The articulation is there, but his costuming, all of that plastic, makes it virtually pointless. I really wish the skirting at least would have been done as like cloth goods instead of that heavy plastic, that heavy rubber. If for no other reason, you can't put him on a horse. Like, even if you had Roach from like the McFarlane series, or you had a black horse to put him on, he wouldn't be able to ride his Nightmare. And let's be honest, we know we're not getting the Nightmare. We're not getting Shadow Demon. Like, this is it for the line. I feel pretty confident in that we're going to get Venger, we got DM, and then we got the kids, and that's it for the cartoon series. Dungeon Master is okay. You need him for the set. I'm glad he's included. I'm glad he wasn't an individual figure. I'm glad that he was included in a 2-pack with his son, aka Venger. But to charge the same price for a full-sized figure, especially when he has such limited articulation, because I know I made the comparison to like Yoda and Grogu for Black Series, but if I remember correctly, Yoda at least has articulation. He has some amount of posability to him, whereas Dungeon Master just has shoulders and wrists. For $15 though, I don't hate that I got him, because I wanted Venger, because you saw with the size comparison, the main reason I wanted him is that he will size up, height-wise if nothing else, with Warduke and Grimsword and the rest of the NECA line, all those big bads and those villains. I'm going to love seeing him next to the Beholder and the Displacer Beast when those show up. But quality-wise, sculpt-wise, he's fairly lacking when you put him next to the other ones. He's lacking when you put him next to Drizzt. So it's not even a comparison of Hasbro and NECA. When you compare Hasbro and Hasbro, he's still lacking. I'm glad I got him. It's difficult for me to recommend him to anybody watching this. If you were a fan of the cartoon and you can get him for $15, if you're my age and you remember this cartoon fondly and you're a fan of Dungeons and Dragons and you can get him at Target for $15, I say go for it. Otherwise, it's up to you. It's your call, but I really can't recommend this for the $50 price tag. That's what I have for you today. This one was kind of a surprise. I kind of had to fit it into the rotation. I wasn't expecting to do this. As I said, Skele Vader clued me in on this, so go ahead and check out his channel too while you're at it. And until next time, my friends, play well, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.